West Midlands' old halls and industrial streets hide eerie tales, from phantom monks and crying children to haunted theatres and ancient farms. These 10 chilling places still whisper through the dark. Black Country Living Museum. In the heart of Dudley stands the Black Country Living Museum, where the smoke-stained memories of the industrial age seem to breathe after dark. By day, it is a place of bustling exhibits and family visitors. By night, it becomes something far stranger, as if the town it recreates has kept a secret life of its own. The Old Bottle and Glass Inn is the focus of the most enduring stories. Long after closing time, the locked building sometimes fills with the sound of piano music. Staff have reported entering the room to find the instruments standing silent, yet with keys still vibrating. A few witnesses speak of a dim figure seated at the piano, absorbed in a slow, mournful tune, vanishing the instant anyone approaches. What unsettles investigators most is that these tales began when the pub still stood miles away, and the phenomena have followed the building to its new setting as though the very bricks carried a memory. The museum's bus terminus is another center of unease. Drivers finishing late shifts describe heavy footfalls echoing across the concrete long after visitors have gone. A sudden breath of icy air will slide along the platform even on windless nights. Doors open and close with sharp finality, and more than one guard has heard a low sigh behind them when no one else was near. One former night watchman recalled locking the inn at midnight, only to hear a faint male voice begin to sing within. When he forced the door, there was nothing to see, only the piano lid raised and the faint tremor of strings fading into silence. Others speak of a blurred silhouette glimpsed at the edge of lamplight, or a faint smell of coal smoke rising where no fire burns. Some believe the musician is the shade of a long-dead pianist who died during a performance. Others suspect the sounds are the building's own memories, echoing from an age when the Black Country rang with hammer and song. Whatever the cause, a walk through the museum after dusk carries the uncanny sense that the past has not finished with this place, and that its ghosts still keep their nightly vigil. Prince Albert Hotel. On a quiet corner near the railway in Wolverhampton stands the Prince Albert Hotel, a Victorian building whose polished bar and faded rooms carry more than a century of stories. By daylight, it is a solid brick inn, unchanged, but for modern paint and fittings. After dark, however, it becomes a house of gentle but persistent unrest. The heart of its legend lies in room 13. Once a favorite guest room, it is no longer used for overnight stays, yet staff still treat it with quiet respect. Long ago, this chamber belonged to Miss Williams, a devoted landlady known for her warm welcome and her secret love for a young woman named Anna. When the Second World War swept through the Midlands, Anna never came home. Records say she was killed in an air raid. Miss Williams, stricken with grief, kept vigil in room 13, lighting a candle each night as if to guide Anna back. Visitors and employees believe that vigil has never ended. More than once, a faint candle glow has been seen in the sealed window long after closing time. Housekeepers tell of unlocking the room to find the air scented faintly of wax and smoke, though no candle remains. A night porter swears he entered the room one evening to find the bed neatly turned down and an impression of someone sitting at the foot, though he was entirely alone. Other echoes drift through the hotel. Guests in neighboring rooms have heard soft footsteps along the corridor when no one is booked nearby. A faint woman's voice sometimes calls from the landing or whispers a name that cannot quite be caught. Dogs brought into the bar have been known to stop and stare toward the staircase, tails low, as if sensing a presence invisible to their owners. Some say Miss Williams waits still, keeping faith with the promise she and Anna once shared. Others wonder whether the sorrow of wartime loss has soaked so deeply into the walls that the room itself remembers. Whatever the truth, the Prince Albert Hotel holds an atmosphere of quiet devotion and lingering melancholy, as though love and grief have become one endless night watch, never fully at rest. Town Hall. In the heart of Walsall, the Grand Town Hall stands with proud Edwardian stonework and a clock that has measured more than a century of civic life. By day, it is a venue for concerts, weddings, and public meetings. Yet when the doors are locked and the corridors fall silent, the hall is said to come alive in ways that defy ordinary explanation. Caretakers speak first of a grey figure, glimpsed in the very center of the main hall. He appears as a faint outline in the half-light, motionless for an instant before fading into the shadows. Others have reported seeing the same misty shape moving along the edge of the stage, as though inspecting the empty seats. Attempts to follow lead only to cold air and silence. From the upper gallery come sudden footsteps, slow and deliberate, when no one is present. A security guard once heard the tread begin behind him and cross the entire balcony before ending with a sharp thud, as if someone had stepped off into space. He searched every stairwell without finding a living soul. On other nights, muffled voices drift from locked rehearsal rooms, carrying a faint echo of music or debate long finished. Technicians setting up for performances describe lights that switch themselves on or off, and heavy fire doors that swing open against their latches. One sound engineer swears that a piano note rang out in the empty hall during a late sound check, followed by a low humming that lasted several minutes. The building's temperature can also change. Abruptly, pockets of icy air linger even on warm summer nights, startling stagehands as they cross the otherwise still floor. Local tradition ties these disturbances to the many public dramas played out within these walls: heated council debates, wartime gatherings, and the emotional farewells of soldiers and their families. Whether the grey figure is a former official, a musician from a forgotten concert, or simply the memory of the crowds themselves, no one can say. What is certain is that after the last performance ends and the doors are bolted, Walsall Town Hall seems to remember its past, in whispers of sound and shadow, keeping a quiet vigil until the next day's life returns. The Manor House. Rising behind its high brick walls on Hall Green Road, the Manor House is one of the Midlands' finest examples of a medieval domestic hall, and one of its most haunted. Built in the 13th century for a wealthy merchant family and later used as an inn, this sprawling timber-framed building has soaked up centuries of feasts, quarrels, and hidden tragedies. When night falls and the visitors leave, many believe the past comes walking back. One of the most enduring legends speaks of fraternal bloodshed. In the 14th century, two brothers are said to have fought violently outside the house, one striking the other dead. Guides today report fleeting shapes of young men in rough medieval clothes in the South Solar, as if that deadly quarrel replays itself again and again. In the Great Hall, a figure in medieval garb has been seen striding through a doorway that has long since been bricked up, a silent journey back to a world that no longer exists. The house is equally famous for poltergeist-like mischief. A former landlord dutifully drew the curtains in the chapel each evening, only to find them wide open the next morning. Visitors describe footsteps that cross the bar floor with the sharp clack of shoes on stone, though the floor has been carpeted for decades, ending in a deep sigh that chills the air. A tour guide once felt invisible hands press hard on his shoulders in the old kitchen, and then glimpsed a dark shadow slipping away. Mirrors here are said to hold more than reflections. In the ladies' toilets, a photograph once captured a mysterious face, peering out where nothing had been visible to the eye. Other witnesses speak of a phantom barman, a red glowing silhouette, a black-bearded man, and a white-haired lady. From the chapel come the sounds of children playing the clip of unseen horses and sudden screams or cries that fade into silence. Even a phantom cat is said to dart across the stairwell, vanishing as quickly as it appears. Whether born of legend or restless memory, the Manor House holds layer upon layer of unquiet history. Each echoing footstep and fleeting shadow seems to insist that the stories of love, rage, and grief lived out here have never truly ended. Hayden Hill House Museum. Set among parkland on Halesowen Road, Hayden Hill House Museum is a handsome Victorian home, with a reputation far darker than its elegant facade suggests. Built in the late 19th century for industrialist Alfred Hayden Best, it later became a set of flats before returning to public ownership. Through every chapter of its life, residents and visitors have spoken of unexplained sights and sounds that linger long after closing time. Former flat dwellers told of a television set that betrayed the unseen, showing silhouettes of people walking calmly across the screen like shadows from another century. One tenant described the cords of a window blind being pulled back and released again and again by invisible fingers, while a heavy bag of diving weights was dragged across the floor without human help. In the cafe area, staff have heard the scrape of tables and chairs moving across the floor long after the building had emptied. A spectral Victorian maid, eternally dutiful with a tray in hand, is said to glide through the corridors, sometimes appearing near the old servants' quarters. Others tell of cold spots that cling to particular doorways, and of a woman who once found herself locked inside the toilets, though no one stood outside to turn the key. Each December, a faint choir singing a requiem mass has been reported at dusk, as if the house itself marks some long-forgotten loss. Local folklore deepens the mystery. One story recalls a monk who fell in love with a woman and was walled up alive when their secret was discovered. His bereft lover is said to wander the grounds, searching endlessly. Visitors speak of white ladies and grey sisters, indistinct figures, glimpsed on staircases and across the lawns, their outlines fading into mist. There are whispers, too, of monks moving silently through the chapel area and of unseen children whose light laughter echoes in empty rooms. From the drag of phantom furniture to the sudden chill that clings to its old stone walls, Haden Hill House offers a catalogue of the uncanny. Whether these are echoes of Victorian domestic life, fragments of older tragedies, or something stranger, still each creak and shadow invites the imagination to step carefully, as though the house itself remembers more than it reveals. Connaught Hotel. On Tettenhall Road in Wolverhampton stands the Connaught Hotel, an imposing Victorian building with a reputation that reaches beyond fine hospitality. Over the decades, staff, guests, and local historians have gathered a quiet but persistent collection of stories that give this elegant hotel an unmistakable air of the uncanny. Even on calm days, glasses on the bar rattle and clink without cause, as if an unseen hand is sampling the evening's offerings. Bar staff have sometimes returned from the cellar to find chairs pulled back from tables or cutlery rearranged in neat, deliberate patterns. Guests lying awake at night speak of soft footsteps in empty corridors and the faint sound of doors closing somewhere deep within the building long after the last key has turned. The hotel's best-known presence is the benevolent spectre of Sir Harmer Nichols, a former owner who cherished the Connaught during its mid-20th century heyday. Residents who have encountered him describe a courteous, almost welcoming figure, a tall gentleman in period dress who simply appears and watches for a moment before fading into the air. One former night porter recalled the unmistakable scent of pipe tobacco curling through the lobby just before the silhouette of a man crossed the hall and vanished at the grand staircase. Other incidents add to the mystery. Housekeepers sometimes discover windows unlatched in rooms they are certain were sealed, or find a lamp switched on moments after it was turned off. Guests report sudden chilly drafts along the upper landings, a cold breath that lingers even when the weather outside is still and mild. In the cellar, where old wine racks and brick arches preserve the inn's earliest foundations, some have heard a low humming or a deep, indistinct voice that stops the instant anyone speaks. Unlike the violent legends of some haunted houses, the Connaught's atmosphere is strangely gentle, as though its spirits are more watchful than wrathful. Many locals believe Sir Harmer Nichols simply refuses to leave a place he loved, keeping quiet company with those who work and stay there. Whether the echoes of clinking glasses and the shifting of furniture are true hauntings or subtle memories impressed on brick and beam, the Connaught Hotel remains one of Wolverhampton's most quietly compelling ghost stories, where every late-night creak might be a sign that the gracious host still walks his halls. The Oak House Museum. In the heart of West Bromwich, framed by ancient oak beams and heavy fireplaces, stands the Oak House Museum. At first glance, it is a charming timber-framed dwelling from the 17th century, yet for generations, its rooms have held whispers of something far less ordinary. Visitors often remark on the ticking of invisible clocks that seems to echo through the dining room long after closing time. Even in total stillness, the steady rhythm persists, as though the house itself remembers the hours kept by its earliest inhabitants. More than one guest has caught the sweet, unmistakable scent of pipe tobacco, drifting from empty corners, a fragrance never explained by open windows or passing staff. The museum's long corridors and shadowed parlors are alive with subtler mysteries. Children have been seen darting into walls beside the fireplaces, laughing before dissolving into thin air. A former custodian once glimpsed a flash of green silk sweeping past a doorway, though no visitor in period dress was present. In the upstairs chambers, footsteps cross the creaking boards when no tour is scheduled and every door is bolted. Among the most unsettling encounters are those with phantom figures glimpsed only from the edge of sight. One visitor reported seeing a tall presence stride past a doorway, yet when she turned, the hall was silent and empty. On quiet evenings, staff speak of a gentle pressure on the shoulder or the soft rustle of skirts, brushing the stair rails as though long-departed residents are still making their rounds. Legends surrounding the Oak House stretch back centuries. Some believe the apparitions are members of the wealthy Turton family, original owners, whose lives were intertwined with the region's growing trade. Others speak of servants and children who lived and died within these walls and may linger in memory. Whatever the truth, the phenomena remain: constant unseen clocks keeping time, fleeting green costumes, and children who vanish as suddenly as they appear. By daylight, the museum is a treasure of Black country history. Yet when the doors close and the last visitor leaves, the Oak House seems to wake into a different life, one that moves between past and present with quiet persistence. Those who pause on the stairwell or linger in the dining room may sense that the house itself remembers and still speaks in whispers and echoes only the patient will hear. St. James Priory. Hidden within Priory Park in Dudley, the quiet ruins of St. James. Priory seem at first to belong only to history. Weathered stone arches and silent cloisters now frame a peaceful garden, yet many visitors sense that the Priory's story did not end when its monks departed centuries ago. As dusk gathers, a black-robed figure is said to move among the broken walls. Witnesses describe the outline of a monk with a deep hood gliding silently along the old footpaths. He has been seen near the remnants of the nave and along the grassy walks where the Priory's community once prayed. On certain evenings, when the air is perfectly still, the faint echo of chanting has been reported, low measured voices that seem to drift from the empty choir, fading as suddenly as they begin. The Priory's long history offers many possible origins for these apparitions. Founded in the 12th century and suppressed during the dissolution of the monasteries, the house endured centuries of change, neglect, and ruin. Local legend suggests that some monks refused to leave or were caught unprepared when royal forces arrived their final prayers, forever bound to the place. Others whisper of secret burials beneath the worn flagstones, souls unsettled by abrupt expulsion and the loss of their sacred calling. Modern visitors add their own experiences to the Priory's haunted reputation. Walkers describe sudden drops in temperature as they pass beneath the remaining arches, even on warm summer evenings. Photographers sometimes find strange mists or faint light streaks captured on camera, though unseen by the eye. One evening, a park ranger reported hearing deliberate footsteps following him across the cloister garth. When he turned, the path lay empty, save for the lingering scent of incense on the breeze. Whether these events are the result of memory legend or something more mysterious, St. James Priory retains an atmosphere of solemn watchfulness. The ruined church and its surrounding grounds invite reflection on the countless prayers once spoken there and the quiet persistence of the past. To wander these stones at twilight is to feel the centuries collapse into a single breath, as though the monks who built and loved this place still keep silent vigil, unseen yet near. Baskerville House, standing on Centenary Square in Birmingham, the dignified facade of Baskerville House conceals a legend steeped in smoke and tragedy. Once the grand home of the Baskerville family, the site endured a fiery night in 1791, when political unrest turned deadly. According to local history, a mob attacked the house and set it ablaze. Hidden deep in the cellars, 3 men lingered too long, drinking from the family's wine stores, unaware of the flames above. By the time the fire reached them, escape was impossible. All 3 perished in the smoke and collapsing timbers. It is these 3 ill-fated drinkers who are said to return. Staff and late-night cleaners speak of an unshakable presence in the basement. Heavy footsteps echo on stone when no one is below. Doors creak open as if someone was still searching for a way out. More than one visitor has described the sudden reek of scorched wood and strong liquor as though the final revelry of that night is replaying itself in scent. A security guard, once locking up after an evening event, recounted a chilling encounter. He heard laughter rising from the lower corridor, deep and carefree, followed by the clink of bottles. Believing someone had been left behind, he descended with a torch. The air grew thick and warm, carrying the faint glow of orange light. At the final stair, the sounds ceased, leaving only silence and the damp smell of char. When he reached the cellar, it lay empty and dark. Others tell of cold mists that coil across the basement floor, or of shadowy outlines slipping between pillars too swift and shapeless to follow. On rare occasions, faint music, perhaps the echo of 18th century revelry, drifts upward into the quiet public space above, fading the moment anyone draws near. Whether these manifestations are fragments of memory or something more, Baskerville House feels alive with unfinished business. Visitors sense that the revelers' last moments are trapped in a loop of smoke, drink, and sudden terror. Standing in the silent basement today, with the city's modern lights just outside, it is easy to imagine the fire's glow still flickering in the dark, and to feel that the lost souls of that night are not yet ready to leave their final gathering. Northycote Farm. In the quiet fields north of Wolverhampton, Northycote Farm carries a history stretching back to the 17th century. Though staff today politely dismiss talk of spirits, visitors and former residents have long whispered of lingering presences that refuse to fade with time. The farmhouse barns and old orchard form a peaceful picture by daylight, yet at dusk, the atmosphere often changes, as though the past presses close. One recurring figure is a sorrowful woman seen wringing her hands and clutching her head. Dressed in the simple clothes of a bygone age, she is thought to be connected to a family tragedy lost to record. Some link her to the Civil War years, when soldiers moved through these lands and ordinary lives were easily broken. Her silent grief appears beside doorways and along the worn stone paths, then melts into shadow without a trace. Another spectre is said to be a lady in Victorian clothing, glimpsed sweeping the restaurant floor or suddenly dashing from view. Guests describe hearing the soft swish of skirts or the brisk sound of a broom where no one is working. Equally mysterious is the man in a tall black hat, a shape like an old-time agricultural laborer who seems to watch from the edges of the fields. On certain nights, footsteps sound across the upper landing or along the staircase, though every room stands empty and locked. A former visitor once recalled hearing sharp bangs on closed doors late in the evening, followed by the muffled tread of someone walking above. When he ventured to investigate, only silence remained, and the heavy wooden doors showed no sign of disturbance. Others have reported a fleeting figure of a woman brushing the floor in the main house who suddenly rushes away, leaving behind a faint scent of wood smoke and damp linen. Whether echoes of household workers or fragments of older unrest, the experiences at Northycote Farm feel steeped in centuries of rural life. Twilight often brings a deeper hush, as if the earth itself is listening. Stand by the ancient farmhouse when the light fades, and you may sense those who toiled and mourned here, their memories stitched into the very beams and stones, quietly walking the farm still. As night settles over the West Midlands, these ghostly tales linger like mist over the fields. Share your thoughts or your own eerie encounters in the comments, and subscribe for more haunted journeys.